Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Dev Diary. Today, perhaps ironically called Small Features, because some of the features described may have some pretty big impact. From big bends to big horses, let's take a look at this week's Dev Diary. Strangely, this week's Dev Diary might look somewhat different to the one you see on your screen. This is because it seems that the formatting has gone a little bit awry and I'm missing the indents on the left and right. It should look okay on your end, but for me and this video it sadly won't, but I'm sure we can get through it. Starting at the top, we begin with the dev known as Planky. Planky. Talking about how they have been cooking up a new way for the AI to better handle frontline divisions, as to allow them to perform concentrated pushes in targeted areas. This feature has been led to be called AI Force Concentration, or equally AIFC. AI Force Concentration is here to reflect the more singular focuses armies would have in capturing objectives. So previously, the AI would kind of spread their armor divisions on random tiles across their front, but now they aim to have a significant cluster of units centralized towards their chosen target. We can see this in the example where the Orange Corps army is directed towards a solid push a few tiles forward across the entire line, while the Turquoise mass is sent to smash through the center for the single tile in Volin. And so going forward, the aim is that the AI will work by selecting targets they deem significant, like ports or cities, and then work out the path of least resistance towards said target, avoiding as many obstacles, rivers and forts as possible. The Dev Diary goes on to describe how the AI will continuously assess the success of an offensive in terms of supply, strength, and if the target has been taken in a timely fashion. Depending on which doctrine the AI goes down, it's stated this will influence the choices the AI makes. So one can assume a mobile warfare nation will centralize their armor core divisions for encirclements and singular surging strikes through an enemy line, while a grand battle plan nation will probably find moments of opportunity when they've built up a planning bonus and they think they have a good enough advantage to do a collective strike against weaker units. In this image, we can actually see some of the lines Germany is calculating to try and assess the best routes for different types of offensive. Note the singular northward thrust all the way towards Minsk, or how some of the offensives require going very far south along the line with Romania. Overall, I'm interested to see how this mechanic develops. On one hand, it could open up a whole new style of play, where you actively have to recognize the AI's intentions to be able to counter their offensives, maybe using intel, focusing your defensive units to counter their offensive units, or equally, it could collapse under its own weight, where maybe players will quickly learn and recognize the signs of AI strategies, and then take advantage of it by knowing exactly where to paratroop just to cut off their supply lines, making counteroffensives really easy. Something tells me this one might need balancing and refining the more we play with it, figure it out, and see how things go, but considering it's an update to how the AI offensives work, I'm excited to see what we're going to get. Now that we've talked about AI strategies, let's move on to some new technologies to brighten your day. Starting off with transport planes being a technology you can improve to start your own national airline service. This will improve the range the planes have to deliver paratroopers and supply even further. But I do wonder, will the planes get significantly more expensive? Once you have a production line up and running for supply planes, it's usually pretty good, but in the early game it can sometimes be annoying. So I'm wondering how much it's going to get even more expensive the more range you need on them. We shall see. That is not all though, as forts have received their own upgrade tree, with each level allowing for a higher count of forts to be built, split between coastal path and land path. This means that the starting level of forts cannot be too high. We're actually given some of the modifiers. On the top we can see plains and hills and urban is going to be 5, forest, mountain and desert down to 4, and jungles and marshes are particularly difficult to build fortifications in, so they get 3. Because there's a starting limit based on terrain, it seems that the focuses that specifically improve forts, such as the Maginot and Sudetenland, have gone up, because now you cannot just build a Maginot wherever you want across the map, at least not until late game and when you have the technologies. I also wonder if maybe there will be some kind of special project relating to it. There was something I vaguely remember seeing that looked like it could have been due with defensive entrenchment fortifications, so maybe there's something in it to do with that. As we can see in the actual image, the initial upgrade towards fortifications isn't even unlocked until 1940, and the one after that 44, so this is really some late game upgrades if you actually want to get your fortification level particularly high. As a side note, look on the right at the old nuclear research tech. It's missing its reactor and it's missing its nuclear bomb. Of course moved over to special projects, but look how lonely it looks, just kind of sitting there on its own. Aww. The next image gives us a lot to break down. So, starting with the main focus, the fort technology we just talked about is present in the level of the fort shown, with the base here being 5 and the 2 research technologies improving it by 2, for a current max of 7 with a perhaps potential to go to 10. I wonder if any special projects here could take it further though. Next up, the state overview screen has been divided more clearly, at the top being states and provinces at the bottom. This will be brought up again later, but the key point is it allows for a better display of where your state modifiers are, like Sweden's hygienic housing policy, and where your province modifiers are, like the weather, and mud, and victory points. However, the last and by no means least important thing to note here is foreign claims. Excuse me? Is that the Prussian and Hanover flag I spy? Now why, oh why, would those claims so casually be visible, if not to say that it's going to be possible in a standard game to disunite Germany into its pre-Confederation nations? I'm just saying, this is something I've been wanting for eons. My goodness, do you think all the different kingdoms will have unique character portraits for the nations? Or maybe some new Germanic nations? Maybe the Grand Duchy of Berg off the Rhineland? Maybe a legendary Oldenburg? And don't even get me started on a reunification path for Germany. Oh, the imagination runs wild. Now for something short and sweet, the command power cap has been swapped around. So instead of previously, when you'd have a maximum of 200 command power that goes down with every military staff you hire, it now actually works in reverse. So you start with a small amount of command power and you need to hire military staff to increase it. So now it feels less like you're being punished for having competent staffing, and it's more like you're being rewarded with more options militarily as you unlock more staff who can handle different things. I think this is actually a pretty good change. It doesn't feel good when you get punished for trying to improve your army. It doesn't really make sense. And below that we have dams. Coming to Götterdämmerung. Dämmerung are dams. In this section, can you see them? No. Can you see how they're being raided? No. Can you tell me what they do? Kind of. We learn their main effect is to boost the state they are located in, making it better to invest industry there. Although what boost they mean exactly is not exactly clear. Easier could imply some construction speed boosts, maybe some building slots, maybe some increase to the amount of resources, but nothing is necessarily set in concrete, unlike the dam, which I hope is set in concrete until it gets blown up in a raid, in which case it's rubble. It's just one of those things. Now for something very cool. As some may have seen in the Steam page, we have landmarks coming in the next DLC. That means across the map will be various landmarks that come in both a visual model in the game world to look at, as well as buffs they offer to their respective original owners. So the UK gets Westminster Tower, as we can see lovely jubbly there, popularly misnamed as Big Ben, but that is the bell inside of it, and the tower is currently known as the Elizabeth Tower. The USA will obviously be getting the Statue of Liberty, France from the Steam page will be getting the Eiffel Tower, and Germany is getting some form of wonder in Brandenburg. Should any of the nations lose their landmark, the occupier will not receive the bonus of holding such landmark. However, I can imagine there will be an achievement for hunting the landmarks of the world down. World War tourism, perhaps? Our penultimate feature to cover is updates to how army defense works. For those wondering, area defense previously worked by you clicking the button for your army, selecting the states you want to defend, and then deselecting which targets you didn't want to defend. Now, in an effort to improve quality of life, area defense starts off with everything turned off, so you can quickly select what do you want to use instead of having to use everything. Additionally, there are 2 new types of defense and a rework to how supply is defended. Now, when you defend supply routes, your units will only cover supply hubs and railway junctions, as opposed to previously, when defending supply lines, they'd defend the entire railway line, every tile, which should save more troops and makes more sense. Additionally, you can now select to defend experimental facilities, which makes sense considering their value in the next DLC, as well as entire borders. Guarding borders is especially interesting because the implication is you can highlight a highly contested border, perhaps one that is shared between many different opponents, and give a general command to ensure any province bordering a foreign province must be defended. And so if you have ever experienced that thing where you put all your units on a front line and then another nation starts pushing and then that front line gets truncated and doesn't actually spread to the neighbouring front line, maybe this is going to help with that. Now, instead of getting gaps because your front line is getting switched and stretched and moved around, you just have a generic defend every tile that borders an enemy nation, and that feels a lot more easy to deal with on a defensive line. Lastly, we get to talk about horses. It seems that for Götterdämmerung, the horses will be getting an update with trendy new models for black and white and chestnut varieties. It does make me wonder if we can expect a more dramatic hussar army with different coloured horses with winged riders charging across Europe. We definitely saw something to do with hussars in one of the focus trees, so I don't think it's impossible. I mean, why do only horse girls get to enjoy the majesty of a sudden cavalry charge? That doesn't seem fair. And with that, this quick, short, quirky dev diary is summed up and shipped out to you. Small features, but some with potential for big impact, especially where the AI is concerned, with those central pushes that could really shake up the meta if it does do what it claims to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you did like, please feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you all, hopefully, next time.